The metal doors of the barracks slid open with a soft hiss. Hyunwoo looked up from his datapad, his green-scaled hands pausing mid-swipe. A human stood in the doorway carrying a single duffel bag over his shoulder. The human was average height for his species, with dark hair cut short, and eyes that seemed to look at everything and nothing at the same time. "Squadron 47, the human asked. His voice was quiet, almost flat. "Yes, you must be our new transfer." Hyunwoo stood up, his tail swishing behind him. He was tall, even for a Velkaran, and his scales gleamed under the station's artificial lights. "I'm Hyunwoo, squad leader, Tae-sung." The human walked in and dropped his bag on an empty bunk. He didn't salute. He didn't smile. He just stood there waiting. Hyunwoo felt something odd in his chest. Most new soldiers were nervous, excited, or at least showed some emotion. This human showed nothing. "Right, let me introduce you to the others." A clicking sound came from the corner. Minho, the Quellan engineer, backed away slightly. His insect-like body trembled and his antennae twitched nervously. "A human," he whispered. "They didn't tell us we were getting a human. Is that a problem?" Tae-sung asked. Still no emotion in his voice. No problem at all." Minho's voice was too high, too quick. "I've just never worked with a human before. In combat, I mean. I've met humans. Nice species, very nice." Hyunwoo could see Minho was lying. The little engineer was terrified, though he was trying to hide it. "Minho handles our equipment and repairs. Best engineer in the sector." Tae-sung nodded once. "Good to know." From the other side of the room, a shimmer of light appeared. Daeho materialized, his crystalline body reflecting the overhead lights in rainbow patterns. "Greetings. I am Daeho, Communications and Tactical Analysis." His voice sounded like wind chimes. "I have read much about humans. Your species has a fascinating military record." "Fascinating?" Tae-sung's eyebrow raised just slightly. "That's one word for it." "Indeed. The statistics are remarkable. Humans have a 47% higher survival rate in close combat than any other coalition species. Your casualty-to-kill ratio is unprecedented. The academic papers alone—" "Daeho," Hyunwoo interrupted. "Maybe save the lecture for later." The crystalline being dimmed slightly, his version of embarrassment. "Of course, apologies." The medbay door opened and Ji-won stepped out. She was human, like Tae-sung, but where he was cold and distant, she radiated warmth. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and she wore the white and red uniform of a coalition medic. She saw Tae-sung and stopped. For a long moment, the two humans just looked at each other. Hyunwoo watched the silent exchange, confused. It was like they were having a conversation without words. "You're from the 13th, Ji-won finally said. "Not a question. A statement was," Tae-sung replied. "Transferred out 3 weeks ago." Ji-won's face changed. Something sad crossed her features. "I see." She walked over and extended her hand. "I'm Ji-won, medic." Tae-sung shook her hand. "Tae-sung." "I know," Ji-won said softly. Then louder, for the others, "Welcome to Squadron 47, we're glad to have you." Hyunwoo didn't think she sounded glad. She sounded worried, but he let it go. "Right, so that's everyone. We run a tight unit here. We follow coalition combat doctrine. We watch each other's backs and we don't take stupid risks." "Understood?" "Understood," Tae-sung said. "Good. We have a training exercise tomorrow morning. 600 hours. Close quarters combat simulation. Nothing too difficult, just want to see how you fit with the team." Tae-sung nodded and went to unpack his bag. The others slowly returned to what they were doing, but Hyunwoo noticed they all kept glancing at the human. All except Ji-won, who deliberately didn't look at him. Later that night, Hyunwoo found Ji-won in the observation deck. She was staring out at the stars, a cup of something hot in her hands. "Can't sleep?" he asked, walking up beside her. "Just thinking," Ji-won replied. She took a sip from her cup. "You wanted to ask me something." "I can tell." Hyunwoo was always impressed by how humans could read emotions so easily. "What's the 13th? Ji-won was quiet for a long time. "The 13th Division. Special Operations. They handle the worst missions. The ones where survival isn't expected. Every military has units like that. Not like the 13th. Ji-won turned to look at him. "Hyunwoo, do you know why humans have such a strange reputation in the coalition?" "I've heard rumors, stories, but I always thought they were exaggerated." "They're not." Ji-won's voice was very quiet now. "I've served with humans for 6 years. I've seen things that still give me nightmares. Things we can do, Things we do when we have no other choice. You're scaring me, Ji-won. Good. You should be scared. Not of Taesung specifically. He seems like a good man, but of what he represents, what all humans represent when we're pushed far enough. I don't understand, Ji-won looked back at the stars. You will. Tomorrow, in the training simulation, you'll start to understand. Just promise me something. What? Don't judge him too harshly. He didn't ask to be what he is. None of us did. Hyunwoo wanted to ask more questions, but Ji-won was done talking. She finished her drink and left the observation deck, leaving him alone with his confusion and growing concern. The next morning came too quickly. Hyunwoo gathered his squad in the briefing room before the simulation. Taesung sat in the back, quiet as always. Minho sat as far from the human as possible. Daeho was taking notes on his data pad, probably analyzing everything. Ji-won stood by the door, arms crossed. All right, everyone knows the drill, Hyunwoo began. Standard swarm hive simulation. We go in, clear 3 sectors, eliminate all drones, and extract. We've done this a dozen times. What's our formation? Daeho asked, standard wedge. I'll take point. Daeho, you're on my right. Minho left flank. Ji-won stays center, ready to pull back anyone who gets injured. Taesung, you take rear guard. Taesung nodded. Any special rules? Rules? Limitations, restrictions, safe words if things get too intense. Hyunwoo blinked. It's a training simulation. The drones are set to medium difficulty. Pain feedback is at 20%. If you get killed, you just respawn outside. Why would we need safe words? Something flickered in Taesung's eyes. Something that made Hyunwoo's scales itch. No reason. Just wanted to know the parameters. They entered the training dome 10 minutes later. The lights dimmed and the walls transformed. Suddenly, they were standing in a dark corridor, all black resin and dripping organic matter. The swarm hive simulation was incredibly realistic. The smell alone was enough to make Minho gag. Weapons check, Hyunwoo ordered. Everyone checked their training rifles. They fired stun rounds, solid enough to destroy the drones but harmless to organic life. Ready? Everyone nodded, then let's move out. They advanced slowly, carefully. Hyunwoo's training took over. Each step measured, each corner checked. Behind him, he could hear Minho's nervous breathing and Daeho's quiet tactical observations. He couldn't hear Taesung at all. The first drones appeared 30 meters in. Small ones, scouts. They died quickly under focused fire. The squad moved forward. This is almost too easy, Daeho observed. The simulation is definitely set to medium difficulty. That's what the console said, Minho replied. Then the walls exploded with movement. Dozens of drones, maybe hundreds, pouring from hidden tunnels and ceiling vents. The difficulty had just jumped from medium to nightmare. Fall back, Hyunwoo ordered. Controlled retreat. Ji-won, stay behind me. They fell back, firing as they went. It was chaos, but controlled chaos. They were trained for this. They could handle this. Then Hyunwoo realized something was wrong. He did a quick count, 1, 2, 3, 4, but where was 5? Where's Taesung? He shouted over the weapons fire. Ji-won's face went pale. Oh no. What do you mean, oh no? He's not behind us anymore, Daeho reported, his crystalline eyes glowing as he checked his scanner. His signal is moving forward. Into the swarm. What? Hyunwoo pulled up his helmet display, syncing to Taesung's camera feed. What he saw made no sense. Taesung wasn't retreating. He wasn't even defending. He was attacking, alone, into hundreds of drones. And he was smiling. The helmet feed showed everything in perfect clarity. Taesung moved through the swarm of drones like water flowing downhill, inevitable and unstoppable. He wasn't fighting the way they taught in coalition training. He was fighting like something else entirely. Pull back to the extraction point, Hyunwoo ordered the others. Now, what about Taesung? Minho's voice was panicked. He's already gone, Ji-won said quietly. Just move. Trust me. They retreated to the designated safe zone, but Hyunwoo kept his eyes on the helmet feed. He couldn't look away. None of them could. Taesung ducked under a drone's strike and brought his rifle up in one smooth motion. The training weapon cracked against the drone's head and it fell. He didn't stop moving. Another drone lunged at him from the side. He stepped into the attack instead of away from it, using the drone's own momentum to throw it into 2 others. That's not possible, Daeho whispered. The angle of that throw, the force required, no species should be able to— Shut up and watch, Ji-won interrupted. Taesung's rifle clicked empty. Instead of reloading, he dropped it. He grabbed a piece of broken resin from the wall and used it like a club. When that broke, he used his hands. When a drone got too close, he used his teeth. He's going to get himself killed, Minho said, his antennae flat against his head in fear. No, he's not, Ji-won said. She was right. The drones kept coming, wave after wave, and Tae-sung kept destroying them. His movements were efficient, brutal, and precise. He never wasted energy. Every action had a purpose. When he punched, bones broke. When he kicked, drones flew backward into others. When he grabbed, he didn't let go until the target stopped moving. His vitals, Daeho said, checking his scanner. His heart rate. His body temperature. They're elevated, but not critically. How is he sustaining this level of combat? Hyunwoo watched as Tae-sung took a hit that should have broken ribs. The human grunted, stumbled slightly, then kept fighting. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. He didn't seem to notice. Humans don't stop, Ji-won said. That's what makes us dangerous. We don't know when to quit. 3 minutes passed. Then 5, then 10. Tae-sung fought alone in that nightmare corridor, surrounded by hostile drones, and he didn't fall. He didn't call for help. He didn't retreat. At minute 15, Min-ho turned away from the feed. I can't watch anymore. This is insane. He's insane. He's human, Ji-won corrected. There's a difference. At minute 17, it was over. The last drone fell, sparking and twitching. Tae-sung stood in the middle of the carnage, breathing hard but still standing. The simulation counted the destroyed drones. The number made Hyunwoo's blood run cold. 243. One human had destroyed 243 combat drones in 17 minutes. Tae-sung picked up his dropped rifle, checked it over, and started walking back toward the extraction point. His movements were steady, calm, like he had just finished a light jog instead of the most intense combat Hyunwoo had ever witnessed. When Tae-sung emerged from the corridor, the others stared at him. He was covered in synthetic blood and oil from the drones. His uniform was torn in a dozen places, but his eyes were clear, focused, and completely unbothered. Sector clear, Tae-sung reported, ready to proceed to Sector 2. Hyunwoo couldn't find words. His mouth opened and closed, but nothing came out. You broke formation, Daeho finally said. His crystalline voice was shaking slightly. You violated multiple coalition combat protocols. You fought alone against overwhelming numbers. You could have died. But I didn't die, Tae-sung said simply. And the sector is clear. That was the objective, right? Clear 3 sectors? The objective was to work as a team. Hyunwoo found his voice, though it came out louder than he intended. You don't just charge into a swarm alone. That's suicide. It would be suicide for you, Tae-sung said. Not mean, not bragging. Just stating a fact. But I'm human. Different rules apply. Different rules? Minho's voice was almost a squeak. What does that even mean? Tae-sung looked at the small engineer. It means I was built for this. You weren't, that's not an insult. It's just biology. End simulation, Hyunwoo ordered. The walls returned to their normal metal gray. The corpses of the drones disappeared. But the memory of what they had just witnessed didn't fade. We need to debrief now. They walked back to the barracks in silence. Tae-sung stopped by the showers to clean off the synthetic blood. The others gathered in the common area, none of them quite able to process what they had seen. That was not normal combat behavior, Daeho said, his body flickering with agitated colors. I've studied thousands of hours of combat footage from every coalition species. Nothing comes close to what we just witnessed. I told you, Ji-won said. She sat down heavily, looking tired. Humans are different. Different how? Hyunwoo demanded. I need answers, Ji-won. I need to understand what I just saw. You saw a human doing what humans do when the mission requires it, Ji-won said. You saw someone who comes from a world where everything wants to kill you, so you learn to kill everything first. That's not an explanation. It's the only explanation I have. Ji-won rubbed her face with both hands. Look, I'm not a scientist. I'm just a medic. But I've served with humans for years. I've seen things. Humans can fight with broken bones. We can run on torn muscles. We can think clearly with concussions. Our bodies produce chemicals that turn off pain and fear when we need them turned off. All species have adrenaline responses, Daeho pointed out. Not like ours, Ji-won said. Not even close. Humans evolved on a death world. Earth doesn't have the most dangerous predators or the deadliest poisons or the worst natural disasters. But it has all of them. Together. Constantly. For millions of years, our ancestors had to deal with everything trying to kill them, so they evolved to be unkillable. We're persistence predators. We don't give up. We can't give up. It's not in our biology. Minho was shaking.
So you're saying every human can do what Taesung just did?
Given the right situation? Yes, Ji-won said. Some are better at it than others. Soldiers like Taesung who've been trained and conditioned, they're the best at accessing that part of our nature. But every human has it. We're all capable of it. The door opened. Taesung entered, clean and wearing a fresh uniform. He saw them all staring at him and paused. Did I miss something? Sit down, Hyunwoo ordered. His voice was harder than he intended, but he was scared. And when Valkyrans got scared, they got aggressive. We need to talk, Taesung sat. He looked calm, relaxed even. Like nothing unusual had happened. What you did in there, Hyunwoo began. That wasn't normal. That wasn't coalition combat doctrine. That was effective, Taesung offered. Terrifying. Minho burst out. You fought for 17 minutes straight. You destroyed hundreds of drones. You didn't stop, you didn't slow down, you didn't even seem tired. I was a little tired, Taesung said. But the drones were set to medium difficulty. If they'd been set to hard, it would have taken longer. Longer? Daeho's entire body flashed red. You think you could have sustained that level of combat for even more time? Yes. Taesung looked genuinely confused by the question. I've fought for 3 hours straight before. 17 minutes is nothing. The room went silent. Even Ji-won looked disturbed by that statement. 3 hours, Hyunwoo repeated. You fought continuously for 3 hours? It was a bad mission, Taesung said quietly. We were outnumbered. I was the last one standing. I had to hold the position until evac arrived. He paused. I held it. And your injuries? Ji-won asked softly. Recovered fully after 2 weeks in medical. What were your injuries? Daeho asked, his scientific curiosity overriding his fear. Taesung listed them like he was reading a grocery list. Broken arm, cracked ribs, punctured lung, severe lacerations across my back and legs, concussion, and I was missing most of my left ear. Minho made a sound like he was going to be sick. But you kept fighting, Hyunwoo said. With a punctured lung and a broken arm, you kept fighting for 3 hours. The alternative was dying, Taesung said. So yes, I kept fighting. Humans are good at that. Not dying when we're supposed to. Hyunwoo stood up and walked to the window. His tail lashed behind him, a sign of deep agitation. I don't know how to lead someone like you. I don't know how to keep you safe. You don't need to keep me safe, Taesung said. That's not your job. Yes, it is. I'm the squad leader. Keeping my team alive is exactly my job. Then use me properly, Taesung said. I'm not fragile. I'm not delicate. I'm a weapon. Point me at the enemy and let me do what I was trained to do. You're not a weapon, Ji-won said firmly. You're a person? Taesung looked at her for a long moment. Can I be both? No one had an answer for that. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Hyunwoo lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling, replaying the training simulation in his head. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Taesung moving through those drones like a force of nature, unstoppable and terrifying. Around 0300 hours, he gave up trying to sleep. He got up quietly, careful not to wake the others, and headed to the observation deck. It was his thinking place where he went when command decisions weighed too heavily. He wasn't alone. Taesung stood at the window looking out at the stars. The human didn't turn around, but he spoke anyway. Can't sleep either? Hyunwoo walked over to stand beside him. No, you? I don't sleep much, Taesung admitted. 3, maybe 4 hours a night. More than that feels like wasting time. That's not healthy. Humans don't need as much sleep as other species. We can function on very little rest for extended periods. Another evolutionary advantage. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Everything about you is an advantage, isn't it? Everything about humans. You're built to survive. Built to survive on Earth, Taesung corrected. Our planet made us what we are. You want to understand what you saw today? I can explain if you want to listen. I'm listening, Taesung pointed at the stars. Most species in the coalition come from nice worlds. Stable climates, predictable seasons, few natural predators. Your planet, Valkyra, has dangerous creatures, but they're concentrated in specific regions. You can avoid them. You can build cities in safe zones, and Earth is different. Earth is a nightmare, Taesung said simply. There's no safe zone. Predators exist everywhere. On every continent, in every climate. The oceans have creatures that can swallow you whole. The land has animals that can run faster, jump higher, and hit harder than humans. The air has birds that hunt in packs. Even the plants can kill you. Some are poisonous to touch. Some have thorns that inject venom. Some are carnivorous and will digest you alive if you're not careful. Hyunwoo felt his scales prickle. That sounds like a death world. It is a death world, Tae-sung agreed. But humans didn't evolve fangs or claws or armor or venom. We evolved something else. We evolved stubbornness, persistence, the ability to just keep going no matter what. Explain. Tae-sung turned to face him. Millions of years ago, early humans hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We're not fast, but we can run for hours, days even. We would follow herds across entire continents, never stopping, never giving up. The prey would run until their hearts gave out. We call it persistence hunting. That's horrifying. That's survival, Tae-sung said, and it shaped everything about us. Our bodies learned to ignore pain because pain meant stopping and stopping meant dying. Our minds learned to push through fear because fear made you hesitate, and hesitation got you killed. We developed the ability to keep functioning even when we should be dead, because sometimes just surviving 5 more minutes meant the difference between extinction and another generation. Hyunwoo thought about the training simulation, about Tae-sung fighting for 17 minutes without stopping. So when you charged into those drones, I was doing what my ancestors did for millions of years. I identified a threat and I eliminated it. I didn't think about whether it was possible. I didn't calculate odds. I just did what needed to be done. But you could have died, maybe. Tae-sung shrugged. But I didn't, and the mission objective was completed. That's what matters. Your life matters. Hyunwoo's voice rose. You matter, not just as a weapon or a tool, but as a person. Tae-sung was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was softer. Do you know why I transferred from the 13th? No, because I was starting to forget that. What you just said, that I'm a person. Tae-sung looked down at his hands. The 13th Division handles impossible missions. Suicide missions. Missions where survival isn't part of the plan. I volunteered for it because I was good at not dying. But after 3 years, I realized I was becoming something else. Something less than human. What changed? We lost someone. A good soldier. A good friend. She died holding a position so the rest of us could escape. Standard sacrifice play. But before she died, she told me something. She said, don't let them turn you into a machine. Remember you're alive. Tae-sung's jaw tightened. So I requested a transfer, came here. Thought maybe a regular unit would help me remember. Hyunwoo didn't know what to say. This was a side of Tae-sung he hadn't expected. Vulnerable. Human. The door hissed open. Ji-won entered, followed by Dae-ho. They both looked like they hadn't slept either. We heard voices, Ji-won said. Thought we'd find you two here. Can't sleep? Tae-sung asked. No one can sleep after what we saw today, Dae-ho said. His crystalline body was dim, showing his exhaustion. I've been running calculations. Analyzing the combat footage. Trying to understand how one organism can achieve what you achieved. The physics alone are fascinating. I'm not a science experiment, Tae-sung said, but there was no anger in his voice. I apologize. That was insensitive, Dae-ho said quickly. I merely meant that humans are remarkable. Terrifying, yes, but remarkable. Both, Ji-won said. That's the truth about humans. We're both terrifying and remarkable. We have this capacity for violence, for endurance, for pushing beyond what should be possible. But we also have empathy, compassion. The same instincts that let us hunt prey for days also make us refuse to abandon wounded teammates. The same stubbornness that keeps us fighting, when we should be dead, also makes us keep trying to save people when any rational being would give up. Is that why human medics have the highest casualty rate in the coalition? Dae-ho asked. Ji-won nodded. We run into fire to pull out wounded soldiers. We stay behind on failing ships to help evacuees. We volunteer for dangerous rescues when everyone else says it's hopeless. Because the same part of our brain that says keep fighting also says keep saving. We can't turn off one without turning off the other. Minho appeared in the doorway, looking small and nervous. I thought I heard everyone out here. Couldn't sleep either. Join the club, Hyunwoo said. Apparently none of us can process what happened today. Minho crept in, keeping distance from Tae-sung. The human noticed and his expression fell slightly. I scare you, Tae-sung said. Not a question. Minho's antennae drooped. Yes, I'm sorry. I know that's probably offensive, but yes, you terrify me. It's not offensive. It's honest. Taesung looked around at all of them. I scare myself sometimes. When I'm in combat mode, when that part of my brain activates, I become something else. Something older. Something primal. I don't think about morality or fear or pain. I just move and fight and survive. It's useful in combat, but it's also dangerous. Dangerous how? Hyunwoo asked. Because it's hard to turn off, Jiwon answered. Some human soldiers get stuck in that mode. They come back from war, but they're not really back. They're still fighting, still seeing threats everywhere, still ready to destroy anything that moves wrong. We call it being broken, and it happens more often than anyone wants to admit. Is that why you transferred? Hyunwoo asked Taesung. Were you getting stuck? I was starting to, Taesung admitted. I'd finish a mission and realize hours had passed that I couldn't remember. Just gaps where the combat instinct took over. That's when I knew I needed to step back. But you can still access that state, Daeho observed. As we saw today, yes, it's always there. I just try to control when I let it out. Taesung looked at each of them. Look, I understand if you don't want me on the squad. I can request another transfer. Find a unit with more humans where I won't stand out as much. No, Hyunwoo said firmly. You're not transferring. But you're part of Squadron 47 now. We don't abandon our people. Hyunwoo looked at the others. Right? Daeho's crystalline body glowed brighter. Correct. We are a unit. Units function optimally when all members are present and integrated. I agree, Jiwon said. We need you, Taesung. Not just because you're effective in combat, but because you're one of us now. Minho was quiet for a long moment. Everyone looked at him. He was shaking slightly, his insect body trembling with obvious fear. But then he spoke, his voice small but steady. I'm scared of you. I won't lie about that. But I'm scared of the swarm too. I'm scared of dying in space. I'm scared of a lot of things. He looked up at Taesung. But you came here because you were trying to be more human, not less. And maybe I can learn to be braver, so I vote you stay too. Taesung looked genuinely moved. Thank you. All of you. Don't thank us yet, Hyunwoo said. We're going to have to set some ground rules. Like no charging into swarms alone without telling anyone. That seems fair, Taesung agreed. And you need to communicate during combat, Jiwon added. Let us know what you're doing. We can't help you if we don't know where you are. Understood. And perhaps, Daeho suggested carefully, you could teach us some human combat techniques? Not the extreme measures, but the basics? It would help us understand your methods better. Taesung considered this. I could do that. Though I warn you, human combat training is intense. We're coalition soldiers, Hyunwoo said with more confidence than he felt. We can handle intense. We'll see, Taesung said, and for the first time he smiled. It was small but genuine. They stayed in the observation deck for another hour talking about small things, normal things. The tension slowly eased. The alarm woke them at 0430 hours. Not the normal wake-up alarm. The emergency deployment alarm. Red lights flashed throughout the barracks, and the speakers crackled with the commander's voice. All squadrons report to deployment bay immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Hyunwoo was dressed and moving in seconds, his military training overriding his confusion. The others scrambled to get ready. Even Taesung moved faster than usual, his face serious. They reached the deployment bay in under 5 minutes. Other squadrons were already there, moving with organized chaos. The commander, a large Valkyrian with silver scales, stood on a raised platform. Listen up. The commander's voice cut through the noise. We just received a distress call from the colony ship Morning Star. They were ambushed by the swarm during a routine supply run. The ship is infested, engines are damaged, and they can't jump to safety. Over 3,000 civilians are trapped on board. A hologram appeared, showing the colony ship. It was massive, designed to carry entire families to new worlds. Hyunwoo felt his stomach drop. 3,000 civilians, including children. Intelligence estimated light swarm presence. They were wrong. Current scans show heavy infestation, maybe 10 times heavier than expected. The commander's face was grim. We're sending every available squad. Your job is simple. Get on that ship, secure evacuation routes, and get those people out. The Morning Star can't be saved, but the people on board can. Questions? No one spoke. Everyone knew this was bad. Squadron 47, you're assigned to Deck 7, residential section. Most of the trapped civilians are concentrated there. You have 1 hour to prepare. Dismissed. Back in their prep area, the squad moved in tense silence. Hyunwoo checked his rifle 3 times. Minho inspected their equipment with shaking hands. Daeho ran tactical simulations on his datapad. Jiwon packed medical supplies with practiced efficiency. Taesung stood apart from the others doing stretches. His movements were slow and deliberate, like he was warming up for exercise instead of preparing for combat. You seem calm, Hyunwoo observed. Panic doesn't help, Taesung replied. I learned a long time ago to save my energy for the fight. This is different from training, Minho said nervously. Real swarm drones don't have safety limiters. They kill you for real. I know, Taesung said simply. Jiwon walked over to them, her face set in determined lines. Everyone understands the mission? We're not there to fight. We're there to evacuate civilians. Fighting is secondary. What if the swarm blocks our path? Daeho asked. Then we fight as much as we need to and not 1 second more, Hyunwoo said firmly. We stick together. No one goes off alone. Understood? He looked directly at Taesung. Understood, Taesung said. But something in his eyes made Hyunwoo nervous. They boarded the transport ship along with 3 other squadrons. The flight to the Morning Star took 20 minutes. Through the windows, they could see the colony ship growing larger. Scorch marks covered its hull, and entire sections looked like they'd been torn open by something massive. Oh, ancestors, Minho whispered. Look at the damage. The transport docked with a heavy clang. The doors hissed open, revealing a dark corridor. The lights were flickering, and the air smelled wrong, sweet and rotten at the same time. That's swarm scent, Jiwon said, pulling on her helmet. Heavy infestation confirmed. Everyone helmets on. Sealed environment. They advanced into the Morning Star, weapons ready. The other squadrons split off toward their assigned sections. Squadron 47 headed for Deck 7. The corridors were empty. Too empty. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. Hyunwoo didn't like it. Silence meant the swarm was either gone or waiting. They found the first body 3 corridors in. A crewman, torn apart. Minho made a choking sound. Keep moving, Hyunwoo ordered, though his voice shook slightly. We can't help him now. They found more bodies as they went deeper, each one worse than the last. The swarm didn't kill cleanly. Contact ahead, Daeho reported. Life signs, multiple readings, civilian signatures. That's our target, Hyunwoo said. Double time, people. They ran through the corridors following Daeho's scanner. The residential section appeared ahead, a large open area with family quarters branching off. People were barricaded inside, using furniture and debris to block the doors. Coalition forces, Hyunwoo called out. We're here to evacuate you. A door cracked open. A woman peered out, her face streaked with tears. Thank the stars. We've been trapped here for hours. The swarm is everywhere. How many survivors? Jiwon asked. Maybe 200 in this section, the woman said. We have wounded children. We can't move them quickly. We'll help you, Jiwon promised. Everyone start getting these people organized. We need them ready to move in 5 minutes. They worked quickly, helping civilians out of their barricades. Minho rigged a stretcher system for the wounded. Daeho mapped the fastest route back to the transport. Hyunwoo coordinated with other squadrons over comms. That's when they heard it. A sound like clicking mixed with scraping, coming from multiple directions. They're here, Taesung said quietly. The swarm emerged from ventilation shafts, from side corridors, from holes in the walls. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Real drones, not training simulations. These had real claws, real mandibles, real killing intent. Defensive positions, Hyunwoo ordered. Protect the civilians. The squad formed a perimeter around the civilians. They opened fire, and drones fell. But for every one they killed, 2 more appeared. There's too many. Minho's voice cracked with panic. We can't hold them all. Fall back toward the transport, Hyunwoo ordered. Fighting retreat. Keep the civilians protected. They started moving, step by careful step, keeping the civilians in the center, but the swarm kept coming. They were being surrounded. We're not going to make it, Daeho said, his voice calm despite the words. The route is blocked. Swarm presence on all exit paths. Hyunwoo looked at his scanner. Daeho was right. They were trapped. Over 200 civilians and 5 soldiers against an army of swarm drones. The math was simple and brutal. Then we hold here, Hyunwoo said. We hold until reinforcements arrive. Reinforcements are pinned down on other decks, Daeho reported. We're alone. Then we hold anyway. Tae-sung stepped forward. There's another option. What option? Hyunwoo demanded. Let me buy you time, Tae-sung said calmly. I can draw them away. Give you a clear path to the transport. Absolutely not. We stick together. Hyunwoo, Tae-sung's voice was patient, almost gentle. You have 200 civilians who will die if we stay here. You have a squad that can get them to safety if someone clears the path. You have me, someone who's very good at not dying. The math is simple. You'll be killed. Maybe, Tae-sung admitted. But probably not. I've survived worse odds, and even if I don't make it, 200 people will. That's a good trade. Ji-won stepped forward. Tae-sung, don't do this, please. You know this is the right call, Tae-sung said to her. You've seen humans make this choice before. You know we always make this choice. Ji-won's eyes filled with tears behind her helmet. I know, I hate it, but I know. Hyunwoo wanted to refuse, wanted to order Tae-sung to stay with the squad. But he looked at the civilians, terrified families huddled together, children crying, wounded people who couldn't run. He looked at his squad, exhausted and low on ammunition. He looked at the swarm of drones growing larger every second. The math was simple. 1 soldier or 200 lives. How long do you need? Tae-sung asked. 5 minutes to reach the transport, Hyunwoo said, his voice breaking. Maybe 10 with the wounded. I can give you 10, Tae-sung said. He reached to his armor and disabled something. A small beep sounded. Safety limiters off. Combat stims activated. What are combat stims? Minho asked. Emergency drugs, Ji-won explained. They enhance human abilities but damage the body. They're only used in suicide situations. This isn't a suicide situation, Tae-sung said. He checked his weapons one last time. I'm coming back. Just not right away. He looked at each of them. Take care of each other. And if I don't make it, tell command I died doing something stupid but effective. They'll understand. Tae-sung, Hyunwoo started, but the human was already moving. Tae-sung didn't run toward the exit. He ran toward the swarm, directly into the thickest concentration of drones, and he started fighting. The change was immediate and terrifying. In the training simulation, Tae-sung had been efficient and controlled. Now, with real stakes and combat drugs in his system, he was something else entirely. He moved faster than should be possible, hit harder than physics allowed, and the sounds he made weren't quite human anymore. Go! Ji-won shouted. Move now! Don't waste what he's giving us! Hyunwoo tore his eyes away from Tae-sung's helmet feed and started directing civilians. They ran, all of them, moving as fast as the wounded could manage. The drones tried to follow, but Tae-sung pulled their attention, drew them away, became a target too tempting to ignore. 4 minutes. They reached the main corridor. 6 minutes. Half the civilians were on the transport. 8 minutes. Hyunwoo could still hear weapons fire over the comms. Tae-sung was still fighting. 10 minutes. The last civilian boarded. The transport was ready to launch. All civilians secured, Hyunwoo reported over comms. Tae-sung, fall back to extraction point, that's an order. Silence on the other end. Hyunwoo and Ji-won ran through the corridors of the Morning Star, following the signal from Tae-sung's armor. The ship was dying around them, groaning and creaking as the swarm consumed it from within. Emergency lights cast everything in red. His signal is getting weaker, Ji-won said, checking her scanner. We need to hurry. They found him 3 corridors later. The scene was like something from a nightmare. Drone corpses were piled everywhere, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. And in the middle of it all, Tae-sung sat with his back against a wall, barely conscious. His armor was torn open in multiple places. Blood covered his face and arms. One leg was bent at a wrong angle, but his eyes were open, and when he saw them, he tried to smile. "You came back," he whispered. "That was stupid." "Yeah, well," Hyunwoo said, kneeling beside him. "I learned from the best." Ji-won was already working, pulling out medical supplies. Punctured lung, broken leg, fractured ribs, severe lacerations, possible internal bleeding. "How are you still conscious?" "Stubborn," Tae-sung managed. Then he coughed and blood came up. "Also the combat stims. They'll wear off soon. Should probably get me to medical before that happens." "Can you walk?" Hyunwoo asked. "No, but I can hop if you help me." They got him up, supporting him between them. Tae-sung's weight was mostly on his good leg, and he gritted his teeth against the pain. They started moving back toward the transport dock. "How many?" Tae-sung asked as they walked. "How many civilians made it?" "All of them," Ji-won said. 200 people. You saved all of them." Tae-sung nodded, seeming satisfied. "Good, that's good." They heard clicking sounds behind them. The swarm had found them again. "Keep moving," Hyunwoo ordered. "I'll cover the rear." They ran as much as they could with Tae-sung's injuries. The drones followed, getting closer. Hyunwoo fired backward, dropping drones, but knowing it wasn't enough. There were too many. They reached the transport dock just as Tae-sung's legs gave out. He collapsed, the combat drugs finally wearing off, leaving him with the full reality of his injuries. "Get him on the transport," Ji-won ordered. Hyunwoo dragged Tae-sung through the airlock. The drones were right behind them, pouring into the dock. The transport doors started closing, too slowly. A drone squeezed through the gap. Tae-sung, lying on the floor, bleeding and broken, still managed to pull his sidearm and shoot it. The drone fell. The doors sealed with a final hiss. They were safe. Medical bay now. Ji-won was already injecting Tae-sung with something. "Hyunwoo, help me get him on the table." The next hours were a blur. Ji-won worked with desperate efficiency, treating wounds that should have been fatal. Tae-sung drifted in and out of consciousness, his body trying to shut down and his stubborn human biology refusing to let it. "He should be dead," Ji-won said at one point, her hands covered in blood. "Any other species would be dead 5 times over." "But he's still fighting, still holding on. Will he make it?" Hyunwoo asked. "I don't know. His body is trying to heal itself, but the damage is severe. The next few hours are critical." Hyunwoo stayed by Tae-sung's side. The human's eyes opened occasionally, unfocused and confused. "The civilians?" he asked at one point. "Safe. All of them. Good." Tae-sung's eyes closed again. 3 hours later, they docked with the main station. Real medical teams took over, moving Tae-sung to the advanced care unit. Squadron 47 waited in the corridor outside, exhausted and worried. Minho paced back and forth. "He has to make it. He has to. Humans are resilient," Daeho said. "The medical data supports a high probability of survival." "Stop talking like a computer," Minho snapped. "He's not data. He's our friend." Daeho's crystalline body dimmed. "You are correct. I apologize. I process emotions differently, but I am concerned. Tae-sung is part of our squad. I do not wish him to terminate his existence." "Die," Ji-won corrected gently. "Humans say die, not terminate existence." "Die," Daeho repeated. "I do not wish him to die." They waited through the night. Other squadrons came and went, reporting their missions. The Morning Star had been evacuated successfully. Over 3,000 civilians saved. The ship itself was lost, but the people survived. Finally, a doctor emerged. She was human, tired-looking but smiling. "He's going to make it," she said. "It'll take time, and he'll be in recovery for a few weeks, but he'll live. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it." His body was healing even while we worked. Broken bones already starting to knit, wounds closing on their own. "It's remarkable. Can we see him?" Hyunwoo asked. "He's sedated right now, but yes. One at a time, though. He needs rest." Hyunwoo went first. Tae-sung lay in the medical bed, connected to various machines, but his breathing was steady. His eyes opened when Hyunwoo entered. "Hey," Tae-sung said, his voice weak but clear. "Hey yourself," Hyunwoo said, pulling up a chair. "You scared us. Sorry, wasn't trying to." "Yes, you were. You knew exactly how dangerous that was." Tae-sung couldn't deny it. Someone had to. Better me than someone who couldn't handle it. "That's not the point," Hyunwoo said. "The point is you're part of a squad now. We take care of each other. That includes you, I know. That's why I did it. To take care of you. All of you. By almost dying. By not letting anyone else die, Tae-sung corrected. There's a difference. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. Command wants to give you a medal. Transfer you to an elite human unit. They said someone with your skills would be wasted in a regular squadron. What did you tell them? I told them you're staying with Squadron 47. If you want to, that is. Tae-sung smiled, the most genuine smile Hyunwoo had seen from him. I want to. You came back for me. No one's done that before. Then you're staying. We're not just a squad, Tae-sung. We're family, and family doesn't abandon each other. The others visited over the next few hours. Minho brought fruit from the station's garden, nervously explaining it was safe for human consumption. Daeho brought reports and mission analyses, awkwardly trying to make conversation. Ji-won brought fresh bandages and gentle scolding about taking unnecessary risks. A week later, Tae-sung was cleared for light duty. He walked with a slight limp, his ribs still healing, but he was alive and mobile. Squadron 47 gathered in their common area for the first time since the mission. Coalition Command is pleased with our performance, Hyunwoo announced. Mission success, high civilian rescue rate, minimal casualties. We're getting commendations. We're getting commendations because of Tae-sung, Minho said. He did the impossible. We all did the impossible, Tae-sung said. I just had the easier job. You evacuated 200 terrified people while under fire. That takes a different kind of courage. You fought for 12 minutes straight with injuries that should have killed you. Daeho pointed out. The statistical improbability alone is fascinating. It's not that special, Tae-sung said. Any human could have done the same. That's what makes it terrifying, Ji-won said softly. Not that you did it, but that any human could. That every human has that capability inside them. But we also have the choice not to use it, Tae-sung said. That's important. Yes, humans can be dangerous. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day, so we learned to be unkillable. But we also learned to protect each other. To sacrifice for the group. To never leave anyone behind. Like you did for us, Minho said. Like Hyunwoo did when he came back for me. Tae-sung corrected. Like all of you did when you accepted me into the squad despite being afraid. Courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you are scared. When did you become a philosopher? Ji-won teased. When I almost died and had time to think about it. Tae-sung replied with a small smile. They sat together, talking about the mission, about the future, about things that didn't matter but somehow mattered more than anything. Hyunwoo watched his squad, this strange collection of beings from different worlds, and felt something warm in his chest. Later, Minho approached Tae-sung nervously. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are you still the person who fought those drones? The one who seemed like something from a nightmare? Tae-sung thought about it. Yes and no. That person is part of me. He'll always be part of me. But he's not all of me. I'm also the person who likes bad coffee and reads poetry and worries about letting people down. Humans are complicated. We have this capacity for violence, but we also have compassion, creativity, humor, love. We're both the monster and the guardian, sometimes at the same time. That's confusing, Minho said. It is, Tae-sung agreed. Even for us. But you choose to be the guardian. As often as I can. That's all any of us can do. Make that choice every day to be better than what we're capable of being. Minho was quiet, processing. Then he reached out with one of his insect legs and gently touched Tae-sung's arm. I'm glad you're part of our squad. Me too, Tae-sung said. Weeks passed. Tae-sung healed fully, his human body recovering at a rate that amazed the medical staff. Squadron 47 received new assignments, easier ones, while Tae-sung finished recovery. They trained together, ate together, became more than just a squad. One evening they gathered on the observation deck. It had become their place where they went to decompress after missions. Next assignment comes in tomorrow, Hyunwoo announced. Another rescue operation. Smaller scale, but still dangerous. We'll handle it, Daeho said confidently. Our unit cohesion has improved 73% since our first mission together.